Let's move on to accidentals. An accidental is a temporary change to a note's pitch. We have sharps, which raise the pitch by a semitone. D, D sharp. We have flat signs, which lower the pitch by a semitone. D, D flat. And we have natural signs, which just give us the original pitch. So that is just a D natural. This gives us the notes between notes. We can go D, D sharp, E, or D, D flat, C. There are two exceptions to this. B to C and E to F are already a semitone apart, so there's no such thing as a note between them. We go from B straight to C, and from E straight to F. So there's no such thing as a B sharp or an F flat. Okay, that's accidentals. Let's start applying accidentals to our ledger line practice. We are going to be doing ledger lines in bass clef. So think about your bass clef notes. What is this pitch? So using our process, we can identify this as being a B, and then we're going to add a sharp to it. So it's going to be a D sharp. A, B, C, D, D sharp. Next, what is this note? Using our process, we can identify the original pitch as being an E. G, F, E, and then it's got a flat sign on it, so it's a little bit below. An E flat. Identifying pitches with accidentals on is not particularly difficult, but as with a lot of things in music, when we try to put them into actual pieces, there are a few rules we need to learn. Rule 1. Accidentals end after the bar line. A bar line cancels out all of the accidentals in the previous bar. So this music sounds like this. G sharp, G natural. So this is a G natural. The bar line has cancelled out the accidental. Rule 2. Accidentals only apply to notes on their line or space. So here we have a G sharp. The next note is also a G, and it's on the same space, so it's also going to be a G sharp. This note down here is also a G. It's a different G. It's on the bottom line of the bass clef. Because it's a different G, this sharp does not apply. This is still a G natural. So accidentals only apply to notes on their line or space. And finally, accidentals are cancelled by natural signs. So here we have a G sharp and a G natural. Let's look at some examples. In this music, I need to make sure I am playing these two notes correctly. How am I going to go about it? So I'm going to go about it by first identifying the letter name of the pitch. This is an F. I'm going to look back through the bar for any other Fs to see if there are any other accidentals. I can see there is another F over here. It's on the same line and it has a sharp in front of it, which means that this is also going to be an F sharp. Over here we have another F, but this time a bar line has happened. All the accidentals over here have been cancelled, so this is just going to be an F natural. Let's do some practice. What is this note? So first we're going to identify its pitch or letter name. This is a C. We're going to go back through looking for any other Cs. We can see that there is one up here. It has a sharp in front of it. However, this C is on an entirely different line to this C in the space, so that sharp won't apply, meaning that this is still going to be a C natural. What about this example? What are these two notes? So I'm going to work out the letter name This is a B. I'm going to look back through the bar for any other Bs. There is one over here, and it's got a flat sign in front of it. They're on the same space and in the same bar, and there isn't a natural sign there, so this is also going to be a B flat. This flat also applies here. This note is also a B, but the bar line has happened. That's cancelled out all of the accidentals in this bar, which means this is going to be a B natural. This flat no longer applies. So, in summary, an accidental is a temporary change in a note's pitch. A sharp raises the note by a semitone, and a flat lowers the note by a semitone. Accidentals can be cancelled out in three ways. They don't carry on over bar lines, they only apply to notes on the same space or line, and they are cancelled out by natural signs. With these rules in mind, turn to activity 2 in your workbook or stick around for the extension content. So, if accidentals give us the note between notes, some of these accidentals are going to be the same. The note between C and D could be written as either C sharp or a little bit above C, C sharp, or as D flat, a little bit below D, D flat. This is the same pitch, but written in two different ways. We therefore call these two notes enharmonics, which just means that even though they're written differently, they actually mean the same pitch. Here's another example. Here we have an F sharp, just above an F, F sharp, and a G flat, a little bit below G, G flat. It's the same pitch, so these are going to be enharmonics. Let's practice identifying some. What is the enharmonic of an E flat? So an E flat is a little bit below E, which is the same as being a little bit above D, D sharp. So its enharmonic is a D sharp, the note between D and E. Identifying enharmonics is not particularly tricky. The trickier thing is wondering why we use them in the first place. Well, let's have a listen to this piece of music by Beethoven trying to follow this score. Now let's listen to the same music, but music using enharmonics, so having sharps instead of flats. Because they're enharmonics, they sound exactly the same, but this music down here should have been a little bit easier to follow. There are two reasons for this. First, in this case, using a sharp sign meant we didn't have to use nearly as many accidentals. Up here, using the flat sign meant we also had to use a bunch of natural signs, which meant we had to write a lot more symbols, which made it more confusing to read. The second reason is that, in this case, the sharp meant that you can clearly see that this note is lower than that note, so you can hear this movement and see how it works in the score. Up here, because we're using flats, they look at first glance like they're the same pitch, and then you have to remember that the flat makes this a bit lower. So, using enharmonics in this case made it much easier and quicker to read the music, and made it look a lot more simple. Enharmonics are a great way to write complex music using a wide variety of notes while making it as easy to read as possible for the person who's playing it. They are also important when we move on to key signatures, as some key signatures will use flats and others will use sharps. So your choice of whether to use sharps or flats can tell the reader a lot about the key signature you are in. However, that is for another time. For now, turn to the extension questions in your workbook.